Sea otters were once a very important part of the West Coast Vancouver Island nearshore marine ecosystem. But in the late 1700s, when Russians and Europeans first came to this coast, they realized the value of the sea otter fur in China and began hunting and trading. This led to a very, very quick extirpation of sea otters on the West Coast. Extirpation means removal from a geographic area. So although sea otters were never hunted to extinction worldwide, they were totally removed from Canada or BC's coast back in the late 1700s and early 1800s. Sea otters were reintroduced to British Columbia from 1969 to 1971 or 72 up near the community of Cayucit on the northwest coast of Vancouver Island. And this is one of many Nuu-chah-nulth communities that spot the west coast of Vancouver Island. So Nuu-chah-nulth have known about sea otters on the west coast since then, but it's only been in the last 10 years or so that there's a growing awareness amongst more and more Nuu-chah-nulth communities about the return of the sea otter. So in 2000, the Nuu-chah-nulth Tribal Council began a sea otter recovery project in which formal stock assessments were done by small boat surveys and fixed-wing airplane surveys, looking at where sea otters are found on the west coast of Vancouver Island and how many there are. And this is a project that's been done with funding from various sources, including the Habitat Stewardship Program of the Government of Canada, and with DFO biologists and resource management specialists as well. But mostly it's involved the Nuu-chah-nulth fisheries biologists and the Nuu-chah-nulth First Nations fisheries guardians and technicians. And they're out counting numbers, observing behaviors, looking at what the otters are doing and what kind of behavioral characteristics they have when they see people. We've also been doing mapping with local community residents and people that are involved in on-the-water jobs and asking people for their information about where sea otters are spotted and where they see them, because we realize that these are the people that are out on the water all the time. Another part of our sea otter recovery program has been teaching Nuu-chah-nulth and other West Coast residents skills about oil spill recovery. So in the event that there was an oil spill, we have some trained people on the West Coast who know how to use the equipment involved and where to go to find otters and how to help rescue oiled otters and what to do with other wildlife. Oil spills are probably the single largest threat to sea otters, and although we don't think that it's very likely that an oil spill will happen, if it did, it could be catastrophic because the sea otter relies on its fur for flotation and for survival to keep warm. Any oil getting into the fur of the sea otter could kill it, and it could also kill it by ingestion, just by eating oil or oiled seafood. So one of the things we're really interested in knowing is just where the sea otters hang out in the big rafts, particularly in the winter. Because if an oil spill occurred, it's likely it would occur in bad weather, which is usually in the winter. We want to know where's the first place we need to go looking for oiled otters.
From 1977 to 2008, occupation of sea otters along the west coast of Vancouver Island has expanded north to the top of the island and south into Clayoquot Sound. Occupation is defined as the presence of a raft of sea otters in the summer months, so sightings of single otters alone does not indicate occupation.
Sea otters need to eat the equivalent of 1/4 of their body weight every day. That's 20 or 25 pounds of shellfish per otter per day. So a growing sea otter population means less and less access to shellfish for humans. And over the past 2 centuries, shellfish have become a very reliable source of seafood for Nuu-chah-nulth communities. But people are now starting to experience reduced access to shellfish that formerly was so easy to get. And impacts like this complicate feelings about the reintroduction and recovery of sea otters. And as a result, there's a wide range of perspectives on sea otter recovery. All of these perspectives need to be heard and considered when we think about the role of sea otters on the west coast of Vancouver Island.